Hey guys, we're going to be taking a look at the new unit releasing in CN this week. Not sure how to pronounce his name. Kianshir. Chancel. So as always, I'm just going to translate some of his skills and things. We will come back and take a look at his demo video and translate that as well. So looking at his background story, it's a pretty long one. Not going to read all of this. They call him the self-disciplined Prime Minister of Element, wielding lots of power, who is a staunch defender of slavery and imperial authority. Just goes on talking about his backstory as well. Yeah, and then he suppressing several slave revolts. Yeah, pretty bad guy. Pretty corrupt Prime Minister. So we have a closer look at some of his artwork there. More of his backstory, we're not going to look at that now. Right, so Kianshir possesses the new Forest of Formations Leader Aura. I think they're referring to the Discipline Leader Aura. Discipline has a lot of summoned units. One guy recently mentioned the Disciplined faction is kind of being left behind and in an awkward position. Especially with summoning units, but we don't really have good Disciplined units. I think some units that summon are going to be, I think it's Sophia, you have units like Yagena, Akombe, I think they're all part of the Disciplined faction. Even Inanna, old Inanna also summoned something. But so now we're finally getting a leader for that faction. Making him a tactician skilled in battlefield deployment, coordination with other summoned creatures. Yeah, so it's all about summoning units. Its summoned creatures inherit some of his buffs, can protect allies or be detonated to cause AoE damage. This will also deal minor damage to friendly summoned units and greatly increase their attack power. So he's damaging your summoned units, and then that buffs them for the attack power, tying into this guy's whole maybe slavery kind of mechanic, slavery background or something. Pretty brutal. By combining skills, summoned creatures can charge forward and explode in a dispersed manner, trigger chain explosions in a small area, or protect friendly forces from a distance. Okay, so there we have it, our breaker, element / disciplined leader. Skills, personality skills. So here's his trait, Iron-Fisted Prime Minister. The summoned units inherit some of his attributes and their attack is increased. At the start of the turn, the user summons the Immortal Army, which can support friendly units. They cannot attack proactively, so you can't control them probably. This is similar to a Akombe, which I'm not a fan of. When the user leaves the field naturally or dies, the Immortal War Corpse is triggered, dealing damage to surrounding enemies, dealing minor damage to friendly summoned allies, and increase their attack. He possesses the additional skill called Conquest Edict. Instantly summons Imperial Immortal Army and is defeated by an enemy. If defeated by an enemy, the energy required for the next summon increases. That's not good. It's giving me whole Akombe vibes here. Alright, going into his skills. So the first one here with the flag. Military orders, can't read the rest. Leader Aura, allies in the Forest of Formations, maybe that's Disciplined faction, receive attack increased, defense increased. Summon creatures, damage is increased. If they possess Liberation, critical hit rate and critical damage are further increased. I think Yagena, she's also a summoner. I think she's gonna be fitting into this system very well. Element and Discipline with a summoned unit as well. The next one is Immortal Iron-Blooded Pioneer, physical attack. It's got the Liberate the Shackles or Break the Shackles tag. Reduces the enemy's defense, summons Imperial Mortal Army around the enemy and directly triggers Immortal War Bones of all Imperial or Immortal Army within range. Increase the number of summons based on the user's liberation stacks. Again, Akombe vibes here. Edict of Aid and Protection, support, liberate shackles, increase the defense of nearby allies and reduce the attack of enemies. For every 10 stacks of liberation, summon the Imperial Mortal Army next to the nearest ally and grant that ally deflection. I love this deflection buff from Yisurin and from Lukumar as well. Reduces an instance of damage by 50%. Okay, and the next skill here, we have the Dread Husk over there. Imperial Death Soldier. Passive, Imperial Immortal Army has increased movement and will actively charge towards the enemy at the start of their turn to trigger Immortal War Bodies. Right, so that's as much as a sneak peek that they're going to give us. It's the only skills they're showing us. Let's take a look at his demo video and see how some of these work in action. Alright, there he is. Kianshir, is it? Okay, they're discussing his trait now, where he has the ability to summon these units. Also mentioning that these summoned units cannot initiate active attacks. I think that's what it's saying, that they can't actually attack, so you can't actually control them. I think that's what they're saying. And then when they die, or when they naturally just leave the battlefield, like this one is dying there, then they deal some damage to surrounding enemies. Not a fan of this. It's just like Akambe's summoned assassins, where they're not actually permanent units. They're just these temporary units that last for like a turn or so, and then they just naturally disappear. Not a fan of that. I prefer just hard summoned units like Yajena's crystal that she summons, or Inanna's guard that she summons. That's a permanent unit that you have on your team. It is damage to the surrounding enemies when they disappear like that. So I think it did like an assisting cover, just like Akambe's assassins. They take your place and take damage for you. And then they're saying here that they also do damage to your own ally. So there you can see we've done damage to our own ally, the crystal. Yajena's crystal over there took 54 damage. That's quite a lot. It could be dangerous for your own allies. But when you damage your allies though, it does increase the attack. And this crystal specifically wants to be damaged. Whenever it gets like light refractions, whenever it takes damage, then it's going to attack. So I guess it works well for this thing specifically. There you can see the crystal fires a beam. Now they're going to refer to his additional skill, Conquest Edict. I think it's costing him 1 energy. And he can summon one of his soldiers over there wherever he wants. This is his additional skill. And then if the soldier dies, then it's going to increase the energy cost of this skill for the next summon that he does, which is not great because these soldiers are dying all the time. But it's just to keep him from summoning too many, maybe. Yeah, and then we can see it. He's summoning another soldier this side, but this time it's not costing 1 energy. I think it costs 2 energy. And then he'll place one there. He has his ultimate. It looks like his ultimate skill there. Right, they didn't say much. Oh, I just missed it. I think these soldiers can decrease the defense of your enemies. And then you can also trigger a AoE attack from the soldiers, just like Akambe's secret signal skill. Now, I think this is his ultimate skill. It just triggers all of those guys to do an AoE attack. And you see they're all just swinging. Also hitting your ally, and then he's triggered as well. So I think this is a Break the Shackles skill, so it can be boosted if you have liberation stacks as well. And they say when he has more liberation stacks, he can summon more of these guys. Currently we can see like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them on the map. I think they're referring next to a support skill that he has. You can see it's or maybe it's a support skill, but you can target allies and enemies. Yeah, it's decreasing the attack of your enemies, and I think it boosts the attack of your ally, or maybe the defense of your allies or something. And then the skill will summon a warrior, a soldier next to one of your allies. So it looks like he's summoning. Oh wow, he's actually summoning one to each of his allies. Yajena and Lukumar are both getting one of these next to them. There you can see that assisting cover to protect your unit. And then it also gives your ally it summons next to it, gives them an instance of deflection, which is cool. Imperial Soldier Death. This is a passive skill that they're talking about now. and it increases the movement of these things that you're summoning, and also forces them to do an attack, I think, as soon as they have their turn or something. So you can see they move more and they do this attack, forcibly do this attack on the enemy. And then it just, yeah, attacks. It just disappears like that. So yeah, I don't know. Mixed feelings about this one. I mean, there could be really cool things you can do with this, and yeah, it just gives me, it's like a Akombe 2.0, you know. I was not a fan of Akombe. When I actually pulled for him and I got him and I played him, I was like, nah, this is not for me. Yeah, the soldiers disappearing like that, it's kind of weird the way they position, and you can't control them, so they're sort of doing their own thing. Yeah, it feels very, very weird. The damage is underwhelming. It looks flashy, you know, all the units doing a little AoE attack, but actually the damage, if you break it down, is not that much. Yeah, I'm not excited about this, but he does have the leadership aura for the disciplined faction for the other summoned units. He'll function well with Yagena, if you have Yagena, I think. I mean, he doesn't need that. Even Shanaz can trigger that crystal, so yeah, mostly for his leadership aura. But I don't know. On the one hand, you know, I'm also relieved that he's not impressing me too much, because sometimes you want to have a unit that's not good. I'm not saying he's not good, but sometimes you just want to have units where you can take a break from pulling so much. And this element patch is kind of hard as well, because all the units are so cool and so strong. So you do sort of want to have a break as well. And sometimes we hope that we don't get units, you know, that we really want. So for me, this is Kianshir. I will try and get him so we can look at his kit. But I'm not sure I'll be able to get him. Not too keen. But again, like I said, he could be actually a really good unit. You know, who knows? We've only seen some of his skills. They could be hiding some of his other skills that might be good as well. And then you can think of all the creative things that some players are going to be doing with this kind of unit. Being able to summon these other units and things. But really, looking from it honestly, it's just too similar to Akombe for me. But he is obviously going to be better than Akombe. Akombe has too many weaknesses. Also curious to see how his AI is, how this unit's going to be on auto. Maybe they've improved that, because Akombe is just the worst AI. Yeah. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts? Are you going to be pulling for this guy? Do you need him for your, if you're going to pull for your Jenna? Anyway guys, take it easy, stay cool, see you soon.